Hi, friends. Today's an exciting day because we're finally diving into Pat McGrath Labs' Divine Bronze collection. If you are encountering me for the first time, hi, I'm Alicia, a huge Pat McGrath fan. In the past, I have received PR from the brand, and I have an entire playlist dedicated to her eyeshadow palettes, to her foundations, and a lot of Pat McGrath on my channel, okay? But I bought these bronzers myself. I did not receive PR this time. I was highly anticipating bronzers from Pat for very long. Maybe you have as well. I think it was maybe 2 years ago when she released her Divine Blush collection. We were excited, but we're like, ooh, I wish it was bronzer. Or maybe not. Maybe we're fine with the blush. But now we have the Divine Bronze products. So let's get into some product details. These retail for $39 each. However, if you buy the duo, which I did, you can get it for, I believe, $70. So not a bad deal, especially if you apply the 10% discount. You know, it's a nice little off the total. I decided to get the duo in 004 because if you look on the product page, it helps you identify which shades will be appropriate for you. So I chose 04 or 004 because apparently 004 covers the foundation range from light medium 14 to medium deep 20, and today I have medium 17 on, so that's right up my alley. And I use this foundation again, immediately thought about the Laura Mercier, and I'm like, maybe I don't need the Laura because it has a similar texture and feel about it, and I do love the color of medium 17. So stay tuned for that. Here are the boxes for Divine Bronze, and you can see, well, I just assume from the use of the leaves, this is very much like Roman god mythology type of feel for me in regards to ancient civilizations, and many of them worshiping the sun, it being like the high mighty at the top of the hierarchy in terms of what they worship. I definitely feel the design and just overall vibe of the collection embraces that, and I do think it's a mood and I quite enjoy it. Now, in terms of what to expect from these bronzers, it says here that we're looking at a micro velvet powder, blurring and perfecting, buildable, mistake-proof application, demi-matte and pearl finishes. Specifically, we have 8 shades in all. 7 are the demi-matte formula, which is found in the original Divine Blush collection, and 1 pearl, the one I have, which I believe is Desert Glow? Desert something. The ultimate tool for sculpting and defining radiant beauty with the power of the sun, which I feel the design invokes. Luxuriously soft and infused with glimmering luminosity for a sun-kissed glow that lasts all day. Divine bronzers are carefully curated to balance red, golden, and neutral tones. Again, we have 1 pearlescent finish and 7 demi-matte finishes, formulated to keep you looking radiant from morning to night. Divine Bronzer features a curated blend of oil-absorbing powders and micro-refined golden pearls that lock your complexion into endlessly divine dimension. Take me there. This regally crowned sensorial smoothing powder uses translucent soft focus powders to ensure a flawless application that leaves your skin with no cast or cakey effect. Well, that all sounds wonderful. Let's get into these swatches, and allow me to pull up the Instagram post that lists the undertone shade descriptions for these bronzers. Again, I picked up the duo in 004, which houses Bronze Nirvana and Desert Glow. I am so excited. Now, the compact is what all compacts look like from Pat McGrath Labs. You have the plastic black with the gold lettering, Pat McGrath Labs here in the front, and the actual bronzer. Look at the embossing. Just appropriate for the feel and vibe for this product. So again, we have Bronze Nirvana, and the shelf life for this is 18 months, and bronzers are made in Italy. I did want to grab Bronze Divinity as well because it is listed as terracotta bronze, but it's fine. We got Bronze Nirvana, which is described to be a warm tan bronze. Ooh. So this kind of reminds me of Benefit's Hoola because it has a little bit of yellow in there. I like that. We like that. It's definitely not neutral. So Bronze Nirvana, which is the 4th shade out of the 8. This is the undertone that is giving. But now we have Desert Glow, the one bronzer out of the entire lineup that has the pearlescent finish. I'm not sure if you can detect that on camera, but you can see the gold flecks, and it does have more of like that pearl sheen. And specifically, Desert Glow is described to be tan bronze with sparkling golden pearl. So they do look similar. This is going to have, again, that pearl finish, and Bronze Nirvana is going to have the demi-matte finish. Demi-matte for me, matte in terms of it not being shiny, but it's not flat either, so it has a little more of that satin natural skin finish to the powder. And to have a texture like this for bronzer, I feel ideal. It allows the user a little more room to play with. For myself, I like to apply bronzer in this enveloped fashion so it can present that sun kiss, that tan effect that you naturally get from the sun, which we might have to limit depending on the sun exposures, okay? And some people rather have a more neutral, cool undertone, but for me, then you would just use a sculpting type of a shade, because realistically, if you were to get tan, I don't think you would show neutral or cool undertones in the tan, especially if you're on the lighter part of the spectrum. Maybe if you're me or deeper, perhaps. Let me know down below, is that totally off in terms of the analysis of that? Because when I think tan, I do want a little bit of warmth in regards to a bronzing product. But now that we have product details and swatches out the way, I think it's time for you to come in a little closer. That's enough. This is a first impressions. They arrived on Saturday. I was with Maddie, came home last night, and just started filming with these today. So any type of excitement you are feeling through the camera, it's here for sure. So let's start with Bronze Nirvana. Again, here is the swatch. That's the undertone that we're looking at, and I couldn't think of a better pairing than to apply this with Sonia G's Jumbo Bronzer, because you're gonna pick up, okay? I'm so excited. We're just going in all over. Ooh, that's pretty. And what kept me from getting, what's the color again? My goodness. Bronze Divinity was, I would have to tread carefully in applying that color. I would not have been as liberal as I am with Bronze Nirvana, which is something I like to do with my bronzer. I like to use a big brush, just get in there, have the big three, if you will. With Bronze Divinity, I don't know if I would have had that same opportunity because it is a deeper color. Who knows though, down the road, because these are not limited edition, okay? If Pat runs another sale, which she will, or feature these bronzers in a holiday palette or some sort of collaboration in a palette, and Bronze Divinity happens to be available, then I might pick her up. I'm just gonna put it out there. So this is how I would typically apply bronzer in this fashion. The color though, I really like the color. It's unlike, no, hold on, I'm just gonna get it. I'm definitely getting Hoola caramel vibes from Benefit. Interesting, this looks to have a little more brown, and Bronze Nirvana has a little more orange. Oh, I said yellow initially, but now with comparing it to caramel, Hoola caramel, I could better detect that undertone. But on the complexion though, do you think I look too orange? I don't think so. I feel like it's giving me tan. It's giving me tan. But let's see what Desert Glow is doing, because Desert Glow has the pearl, and I think it sits a little more red. Still going in with my beloved, picks up a lot, Jumbo Bronzer. Starting it a little higher to the hollows. Well, Well, I definitely picked up too much. I underestimate this brush, man. Like, shame on me. I have to be careful with how much I apply because it could get a little too, like, I'm going to do a little wipey wipe. I'm going to do a little wipey wipe. But trying to detect any type of glitteriness, if you will, that I feel exists in the Gucci bronzers, right? One of those colors or a few of those shades in the lineup has that you could detect the gold flecks on the skin, whereas I feel Desert Glow buffs into the skin and what's left behind is more of like that sheen. The Jumbo Bronzer I feel appropriate to use with Bronze Nirvana, but Desert Glow, I actually might have to go in with a smaller brush. This is Sonia G's Soft Cheek. Clearly smaller than the Jumbo Bronzer, but I feel it offers a little bit more of control. Desert Glow is pretty. I like that. And it does give me a little more toastiness than Bronze Nirvana. You know what I mean? And I have mentioned in the past with describing the different bronzers that I have that I do like the toastiness sometimes. Is a welcoming shade for sure. What can I say? I think this formula is consistent with what we've encountered in the Divine Blush collection. That lightweight, airy consistency to the powder that allows you to blend and to build. Gotta be careful though, depending on the color that you're using and the tool that you're using, right? So I discovered that a dense brush like Jumbo Bronzer gotta tap lightly into Desert Glow. Otherwise, it would have been a little too much. Or I could go in without any product and kind of buff it down. But I do like the undertone compared to Bronze Nirvana. Bronze Nirvana is giving me a little more warmth, 100%. Desert Glow, even with the pearlescent finish, which, okay, you can see a little bit. So if I turn my cheek here, you can see a little flecks of the gold. That might be an issue for you. I don't mind it because I do like a little bit of that twinkle. And I have Pat's bronze highlighter stick here because I think it actually would be nice to add a little bit of the bronze side to the higher point of my cheeks. So not exactly the cheekbone, but lower here. So if you wanted more of that shine, but it still appear bronze, you could go with that step. Also in the collection, I'm sorry that I just zeroed in on the bronzer. There was also an eyeshadow quad, Venusian Sunrise, that I decided not to get because, listen, I don't need it. Like I said with Bronze Divinity, so many bronze names. If it goes on sale down the line and I'm still thinking about it, still lusting over it, sure, I'll pick it up then. What I have nearby is Venus in Fleurs, the Voyeuristic Vixen. It basically is this same layout. Sorry, my Rosefire Nectar completely self-combusts. Except this matte, instead of it being mahogany plummy like it is in this quad, I think it's more of like a neutral dark brown. And the Sparkly Arcly shade is a little more bronze leaning. So I felt like because I had this, I was okay with skipping that. Also, Divine Rose 3 released as a single, originally debuted in Celestial Nirvana Holiday 2022 in the Nude Venus blush palette. So this is Divine Rose 3. Let me double check on that. 1, 2. Yes, Divine Rose 3. And just to stay consistent, we can apply this on the Bronze Nirvana side. And this is a lovely color. Divine Rose 3 is beautiful. I immediately identified that when I swatched it and wore it for the first time when reviewing these palettes a few months back. And I think it is a lovely color with any of these bronzers. It's like a medium pink, but it has a really nice warmth to it that I feel, again, pairs well with the bronze. It gives you more of like that pink sun-kissed glow, which an incredible gradient to create, right? It's nice to have the bronze and that tan and sun-kissed vibe of things, but to invite more of like that sunburnt with makeup, never in real life, color to the cheeks, I think presents the entire mood and look we're trying to achieve with Sun-Kissed Anything. And you know I had to have Paradise Venus on standby because, look, Paradise Venus, I got Paradise Venus and I also have Desert Orchid. So we could go either or, but I will gently apply Paradise Venus, but starting it higher. And this is on the Desert Glow side. Ooh, yes. I knew it. I knew it. What a lovely pairing. Isn't that gorgeous? So if you want a little more pink, you could go in with Divine Rose 3. If you want a little more of that toasty red, okay, Paradise Venus, all the way. And why not? Let's top it off with a little bit of our beloved Desert Orchid, which is more of like this bronzed rose. I think it will just look lovely right here on top, more towards the center of the face. Who knows? Maybe Pat will release a trio of one bronzer color and 2 blush shades, or 1 blush, 1 bronzer, and 1 highlight shade. I think that's the best of both worlds. It'll be killer if she did that. Of course, I will probably have a duplicate if she released those palettes with the shades that I already purchased. But if she didn't, that would be great. If one of them had Bronze Divinity, that would be great. All right, so the consensus is these bronzers are fantastic. I knew they were going to be, especially when I read they were taking on a similar formula profile as the Divine blushes, which are a hit all around. I think people were anticipating the undertones, the shade range, like how wide was Pat going to go. She did go with 8 shades, and the deepest shade, Bronze Mahogany, it looks deep, but I don't know how deep, because one of these things where what you see on a photograph on the internet could be totally different what you experience in real life. So maybe it is a shade you can build up if you are on the deeper part of the spectrum. So if you already ordered Bronze Mahogany, let me know down below. If you're already on the light part of the spectrum, how did the lightest bronze shade appear on you? Did it give you bronze or did it give you Oompa Loompa? You know, let us know down below. If you're around my skin tone in that shade range that was provided for the 004 duo, do you like Bronze Nirvana and Desert Glow? How do they serve you? Do you like the undertones? This is pretty. It is pretty. So why don't we go into a few comparisons? I, of course, had to pull out many of my current favorites in the bronzer category. Let's start out with the Haus Labs bronzer. This definitely has more of a toasty feel to it. You can see compared to Bronze Nirvana. Bronze Nirvana is a lot more orange, whereas specifically the Power Sculpt from Haus Labs in medium level 7 is giving you more toasty. I have the LYS bronzers. I'll start with Harmony, which is my best shade match. I do have all 3. Okay, this is the medium shade from the No Limits powder bronzer, and you can see it's a similar consistency. It's like that lightweight, just whipped texture on the skin that doesn't look dry. And this has more of like a neutral brown undertone to it, whereas Motivate is the light. And I think that's giving me a similar undertone vibe, but lighter. Courage, that's the tan shade. Let's see, I keep forgetting what that undertone will be. Just darker. Kind of similar to the Haus Labs, but you see the Haus Labs has a little red in there, whereas the No Limits LYS Tan Courage shade is more of like a brown. Not a problem, but this for me and my complexion is giving me a little more Sculpt versus bronze. But because this is tan and LYS's shade range sits a little differently than Pat's, it might show up not as sculpty on someone else. You know what I'm saying? I brought out my Becca bronzer because I thought, or I assumed, the demi matte formula would kind of resemble what Becca was doing with their bronzers, and a reason why I think these bronzers were and still are one of the best in terms of texture. So that's the color compared to Pat's. You can see that's a lot more orange, that's a lot more brown, like a reddish type of a brown. You know, Ipanema Sun is still one of my favorites. palettes. We got the Gooch bronzer here. Why not? I'll start with 02, which is 02 my fave? I keep forgetting. I think 02 has more of what LYS was giving me. Yeah, more of that brown. Totally different from what you see in Pat's. And the reason why I like this color, it does give it, okay. I go from suntan to toasty. They live in the same realm. I guess it just really depends on the day and how I'm feeling. If I want my complexion to appear more warm tan versus toasted sculpted. Does that make any sense? Number 3 has a little more orange in here. I would suspect it maybe kind of resembles what's going on in the Pat shade. The Pat shade, I don't know if I got something like this in my collection, man, because that looks neutral next to Bronze Divinity. Bronze Nirvana. And number 4, maybe this was the more orange leaning one. Number 4 we got here. Yeah, absolutely. Even still though, not as much as what Bronze Nirvana is giving. This is like more orange than the previously swatched Gucci shades. But this is on its own, like a totally different undertone altogether. I also have the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Bronzer because texture-wise, I thought it was similar. This is in the shade Dark. It's very lightweight and has that skin-like finish on the blend. Still though, not quite the same as Bronze Nirvana, but is giving a little more brown red. Like it's definitely more mahogany leaning. And then we have Medium Dark, which I can't recall if this is more neutral. Yeah, this is definitely more neutral, a little more lightweight in terms of the serving of color. Definitely more brown neutral leaning. And I also have my Hourglass palettes. Now, although not presented exclusively as a bronzer product, there is a bronzer in here. The Tiger palette or compact that I ordered as custom to house the medium shades. This bronzer shade is Bronzer Lustrous Bronze Light. And the reason why I wanted to swatch this next to the Pat is because I do think the experience is similar. So very warm. And I think a little, it kind of matches there for me. Not as much orange as the Pat, but I wanted to bring this out as a comparison, again, texture wise, because with bronzer I think it advantageous to have a powder that's demi matte and very soft focused, lightweight in the blend, that's buildable without it appearing muddy. Although we were getting into a little muddy territory because if you apply too much, it get a little crazy. And the Hourglass powders are baked, not pressed or whatever methods that were used in each product. So it's not the same process, but I think the experience is similar. Why I like to use the Hourglass powders in that you can build and blend the powders without it appearing, with the fear of it appearing heavy on the skin. But the shade range is like dismal. So that's, where Pat McGrath gets the award, where we get more deep bronzer shades from Pat than from Hourglass. And this isn't exactly a bronzer. This is a setting powder, but many people do use it as a bronzer. You could just tell from the compact, where I'm going to put this, I'll put it over here, not going to have the same warm effect as you see here from both Bronze Nirvana and Desert Glow. This is going to have more of like a toasted sculpt effect on my complexion. Again, though, the actual formula is outstanding in just producing that light, soft, whipped look on the cheeks. Those are my standout bronzer comparisons because I have been using those as of late consistently if I do reach for bronzer. I haven't though because heavily relying on blush to provide my sculpting needs. So not necessarily suntan needs. It really depends on the color because if I had something like Benefit Starla is the rosy bronze shade. So this has a little more pink, obviously, to the color, right? You can use this not only as blush, but as a little bit of like, not literal suntan, but it can evoke a similar vibe. I feel the same way about Paradise Venus. Okay, when I applied Paradise Venus for the first time, it was just like bam, right there. The color, the only one that I would need to use to look sunburnt without the consequences of actually becoming sunburnt. It's a fantastic shade. And now to have the same formula, similar-ish, with Paradise Venus in the bronzer, the Divine Bronzer collection. So good. To complete the look, I do want to apply a little bit of highlight. I still have my duo stick here, but because it's the bronze stick, I'll just use the translucent side, which I think nice. You know, sometimes I don't want a particular color here on the cheekbones. I just want, that finger was dirty. I just want some glisten here on the cheekbones. You know what I mean? So the highlighter stick from Pat McGrath is a staple for me and something I often pack in my travel bag. I mean, you can't get easier than that. You know what I mean? I also have Golden and Nude. Golden, I think, would be a more than appropriate pairing to apply with the Divine Bronzer shades. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to take everything for a last minute whip. Why not? Let me use my Kiyaki buffer. The official name, Niji, excuse me. Just placing everything together, getting it nice and smooth here. All right, that was a first impressions run of Pat McGrath Labs Divine Bronzer collection. Although I just purchased the duo, you can go on the website and see the several pieces that are a part of this collection. I decided to just get the duo because I'm trying to keep it tight with the spending. We have the Sephora Spring Savings event coming up, and I'm quite happy with my choice. I mulled over it for several days, thinking about the quad, thinking about this and that, thinking about if I needed bronzer to begin with, but I do enjoy Pat's bronzer formula. I didn't expect anything less, and now to actually have it, to have this collection live, to experience the shades that I purchased, again, Bronze, Nirvana, and Desert Glow, they're extraordinary. And now I cannot wait to pair them with the different Divine blushes, specifically the newer Divine Rose 3. It released as a single. I didn't get it because, yes, I get it. If you don't have the palette and you are eyeing Divine Rose 3, it is a beautiful color, but I felt silly buying it as a single when I already have it in the palette. And also, this houses Paradise Venus, so technically I could just carry this with one of the bronzers and be fine, and use a highlighter shade here, which, my goodness, these highlighters, the shine factor for these suckers, especially if you go in with the balm stick first, look at that. This is crazy. I thought that was a more practical choice on my part. And if you are around my skin tone, could you have gotten away with, I don't know, the 003 duo? Maybe. I think it would have been light and you would have built up the color if you're a little lighter than me. But if you're around my skin tone, if you wear medium 17 in the Pat McGrath foundation, the Skin Fetish, I think 004 is a great way to go. And again, wonderful opportunity to save a few bucks when buying the duo instead of me having to buy the shades separately and pay the extra. So that is it, family. Let me know if you picked up any of these shades from the Divine Bronzer collection, if you picked up the quad or any of the lip products. If you didn't have the Nude Venus palette and you wanted Divine Rose 3, which, my apologies, I should have just swatched here. So this is Divine Rose 3. If you wanted, you could have seen it in the original video, but that original video was so crazy because I got all the shades confused. It's like a rose coral shade that I think, again, just looks beautiful with the bronzers. And you can build this up as you like to get that beautiful sun-kissed glow. I'm gonna put a little here over here on this side for the thumbnail. And that's it. I'll see you down in those comments. And until then, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I will see you on here again with another review tutorial. Pat McGrath Labs extravaganza, or something having to do with more bronzer, I'll figure out a topic, you know I can. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.